George? Okay. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for
I'd like to make a motion to begin the meeting of thank you, George, January 20th, 2026.
Second.
I'll call the question, and then you can go ahead and vote.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
All right. Let me log into my... And before we start the meeting, I just want to make a couple announcements that the back doors, the double glass doors that people typically go in and out of, you'll notice that there's a sign posted tonight just asking that no one leave from them. We've been having some issues with the weather and the alarm system not registering, so we could just appreciate everybody leaving from the main entrance tonight.
We have an announcement regarding the blood drive at Sacred Heart, and I will get that to load up also. A little slow,
Gary,
weather.
up on
So
the...
Okay, but the blood drive is going to be held at Sacred Heart / St. Patrick's, Sunday, January 25th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Sacred Heart School Gym, which is at 26 Still Road, Monroe. You need to eat well and stay hydrated before you come. Bring a photo ID, feel good and symptom-free. So if you think you're coming down with a cold or something, try to reschedule. Meet minimum weight requirements, and I don't know what they are, so you'd find out when you're there. And you must be between 17 and 75. And Val, do we have this also on the town website? There's a QR code there, and you can always scan that and use the code 08832, and you can call Aileen McCarthy at, I'm assuming it's 845-781 0856, or Johanna De Maria at 845-783-3026, or Tina Quirk at 845-783-3253. Okay, and then we're going to our next community. Narcan training, that's going to be run by the county. And the training overview means basically you're going to learn some facts about the opioids and how they work, learn about opioids and overdose trends in Orange County, understand how to recognize the signs of a potential opioid overdose, learn how to respond to an opioid overdose using the Narcan nasal spray, and every participant will receive a free Narcan kit. So there are several dates. They're February 7th, March 7th, April 4th, May 2nd, June 2nd, August 1st, October 3rd, November 7th, and December 5th. The training will be held from 1 to 2 p.m. at 30 Harriman Drive, Goshen. And again, we have this flyer on the town website, so you can scan the QR code to register. Ladies Auxiliary is still trying to hold their murder mystery. So it's going to be held at the Lakeside Firehouse from 6 o'clock is when the doors open. And stop by to see Omar the chef from K&K Catering Food Truck. He will be on premises. So the ladies' murder mystery will take place on Saturday, February 7th, 2026. We said it's going to start at 6 when the doors open, but the show actually starts at 7 o'clock. And it's going to cost $45 per person. You can call Laura at 845-325-8238. And she'll give you any information that I didn't, and you can buy the tickets.
And we just have a few more announcements. So from our highway department, we have a winter weather ordinance reminder. So the town of Monroe would like to remind residents of the important local ordinance that are in effect during winter weather to ensure public safety and allow for efficient snow and ice removal. So deposits of snow and ice on roadways are prohibited by law, so no person, firm or corporation may deposit, throw, place, or strew snow or ice onto any town street, avenue, road, or highway. So this includes pushing or plowing snow from private property, driveways, or parking areas into the roadway. So doing so creates hazardous conditions and interferes with snow removal operations. And there are parking restrictions during snowfall and icy conditions. It's unlawful to park any vehicle on a public road located in the town of Monroe whenever snow is accumulating or ice is forming on the road, or when conditions have been forecasted. Once snowfall begins or ice starts to form, parking is prohibited on all public roads until they have been treated or plowed and cleared to the curb or edge of the pavement, and vehicle owners or operators must move or cause their vehicles to be moved so they don't delay, hinder, or obstruct plowing or snow removal. So these regulations are essential to keeping town roads safe and accessible during winter weather events, and we appreciate your cooperation. And with that, we want to give a huge, huge thank you to our highway department. Bill Brown cannot be here tonight because he is asleep after all of the hard work that he and our highway department did over the last few days. We understand why. We did field some concerns as to why the roads may have looked a little different than in storms past, and the answer was the same. The storm is a deceiving beast. So it snowed literally from sunrise throughout the day to sunset. Our guys, basically every route takes about 2 hours to plow, and they were out circling constantly. So again, we know that, not everyone is perfect, and this was Bill Brown's first go as highway superintendent too. We're going to be sitting and reworking some of the methodology for clearing the roads, but we had a lot of calls too saying that our area was better cared for than neighboring communities. So with all the work that our crew does, we want to say we hope you're asleep, and we'll see you tomorrow. With that, also, we wanted to answer a couple questions regarding the 2026 adopted budget. So just to explain how municipal budgeting works, for everyone who was following along with the budget process that began publicly around October, myself and Mary Bingham were council people who actually voted no on the 2026 adopted budget, but 3 votes majority passed the budget. There were a lot of issues with this budget from the first submission, the supervisor's submission, to the end. We basically had to correct a copy and pasted tax value. Lewis actually came up during public comment and pointed out the basically stated 10% increase. If you want
Just
to speak
basically,
about that.
they just cut and pasted into the wrong spot. That's all they did.
Yes, so we had to correct numbers that basically weren't adding up as people who were kept outside of the process as the minority, and Lewis was a member of the public and a member of the planning board who helped catch that mistake and publicize that. So from then on, we were dealing with numbers that we had asked different fund balance to be allocated and different tax rates to be set so that we could achieve what the minority felt was an overall balance, not burdening too much on the taxpayers by increasing in any extraordinary amount, but also relying somewhat on funds to give taxpayers a break. We, at the end of the process, spoke out on what we believe to be a retaliatory budget. I've spoken with the state comptroller, neighboring supervisors, department heads who all felt that this was indeed a retaliatory budget. People were underfunded, salaries were not taken into account. Our Teamsters unions, like contracted salary upgrades, were not included in the budget. There were certain departments head salaries that were cut. So we, again, me and Mary Bingham as council people voted no on what was expected to be an A, B, DA, DB, negative 2.26% tax decrease. We also, if you recall, for those following along from October, November, pointed out in a budget session an odd phenomenon. We had said, we've never seen this before. It was a negative $566,000, $788,000 that was listed as the tax levy for the 2026 adopted budget. We did not receive a response. We brought this up. We said that it implied that the tax levy that we as a municipality or the county who are printing these bills would be giving out money. So on these spreadsheets, it's not just an Excel formula. This is an accounting document, and each cell has a very specific legal meaning, and you are not legally allowed to leverage a negative tax levy. So in this budget, with this Excel sheet that is listed as the adopted budget on the town website, went to the county, and we've spoken to the entire county finance department on this. When this formula went to the county, they zeroed it out, and they had the approval of the budget officer, the outgoing supervisor, to zero it out. There was a lot of back and forth, basically, with municipal law. This budget had to be filed and approved by the board by a certain deadline and filed with the state comptroller by a certain deadline. And by the time that it was submitted to the county for billing, there wasn't essentially time, as I understand, for the board to be reconvened. And so executive decisions were both made by the outgoing supervisor to zero this out and by the county finance department to zero it out, because legally and just logistically, one cannot have a negative tax levy. When that amount was zeroed out, because it is a formula, it wasn't in a vacuum, it then affected an increase. So instead of a negative 2% increase, our back of the envelope math says that that combined rate went up. I'm seeing 18%. So instead of a negative 2 rate for those combined funds, it's an 18.4% increase. So you can imagine people's surprise upon all of the budget discussions that we had and all of the information that we had available. The whole point of a public budget process is so that the public knows exactly where their dollars are going and what they're being charged for. Instead of a negative number, they received quite a large increase. The other thing that people were surprised to see on their tax bills was a 92% increase in the highway fund. So if you are a town resident, that's the part town fund, it's called DB. And Mary and I and Louis and Beth were all very concerned about this document being riddled with errors all the way through. That we admit we didn't pay as much attention to the highway fund because that is another elected position. So when we scanned this top sheet, we did not notice the part town highway fund had a change over 2025, what was meant to be a percent. And if you're looking at the one sheet, it says 0.92. Unfortunately, that was a decimal that should have been converted to a percent. So it was a percentage left in its decimal form. So it didn't set off the alarm bells on the checks and balance members of the board who review this budget because of all of the other items that we had been prioritizing and discussing. This is actually a correct figure, and it is because there was a settlement applied last budget that actually supplemented a lot of our operating costs, and this year that was not there. and unfortunately, fund balance wasn't taken to supplement, so it's just the increase that we have based on those operating costs. We successfully could have, as a board, lowered your taxes had the board majority known the proper vehicle to do so, and that would have been applying different formulas, different cells, and applying fund as appropriate, rather than attempting to maneuver an illegal mechanism to lower taxes, which is to put that negative number. The conclusion to all of this is that the county has, again, zeroed it out. Issuing refunds is not something that the county is mandating. It is not feasible. It is not appropriate in this case because the math is the math. They used our one sheet. There was sign off from the supervisor, from the outgoing administration. Refunds in this case would cost tens of thousands of dollars for both postage and the paper, even issuing the checks, not to mention that it would be completely infeasible to refund everyone appropriately. So with that, I just want to thank County Executive Steve Newhouse for being, like, on Saturday night when people were receiving their tax bills, calling and texting me back saying, you know, we will do everything we can to sort this out for you. I want to thank every member of the county finance team for hopping on a call with us and describing this in great detail. So we understand that there's a lot of confusion and concern. We are taking this seriously, and as a new board, we had planned to reopen the budget and reallocate these monies anyway. We just want to reassure people that, like, while mistakes were definitely made in the outgoing administration, we're doing everything that we can to fix it, and we are just looking at restoring essential services that were cut by the outgoing administration, or that intended to be cut by the outgoing administration where necessary, and then allocating the rest of that fund back likely into savings, so that, you know, we don't have to raise taxes again for hopefully a while. So I just want to thank everybody for bearing with that budget discussion. And I'll make a motion to open the continuation of the public hearing regarding road improvement petition of Seven Springs Road realignment.
Stevens, second.
Call the question.
Rivera, aye.
Hingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Okay, is the petitioner or anyone with the petition here tonight?
Council members, I did speak to their council yesterday about this being on tonight. I told them it would probably be adjourned. I think there's still some work they need to do to comply with the town law to have this petition submitted. So if you want to potentially consider adjourning it, maybe for the next meeting, and then we can see where we are.
Are they going to be done by the next meeting? Because I have this relisted as adjourning for the first meeting in March. I don't know if we want to just give them the whole month of February, or if we just want to keep talking about this at every meeting.
Yeah, and maybe give them a month, maybe give
Okay.
them the second meeting in February and see where we are.
What is the second meeting in February, Val? Oh, are we skipping that meeting? Is that the date of the conference for the Association of Towns? Are we going to have to push that meeting? I'm just going to adjourn it for the first week of March. Hold on.
Darius, talk into your mic, please.
Yeah, Darius.
Hear me now?
No, you have to turn it on. Pull back the Band-Aid covering, and there's a guy with a line, and you just click that. Oh, there we
You
go.
got it.
I'm just speaking to
As
the
long
mic
as
as
the
long as
red
it's
light
turned
comes
on.
on.
No.
Oh, we had it for a second. That one.
Sorry about that.
March 2nd.
Thank you. Make a motion to adjourn this public hearing until March 2nd at 7 p.m.
Stevens will second.
Call the question.
Aye.
Hingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
There was no public comment for that also. And
Thanks,
if I can
Val.
just backtrack, who's second to open, Beth?
Oh, to open?
open.
Then I open the meeting.
Louis, I think, second.
Louis
Yeah.
and Mary made the motion?
Mary made the
Yep.
motion, Louis seconded.
Thank you.
So I'm going to make a motion that the town board of the town of Monroe accepts the January 5th reorganizational meeting minutes.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Okay. Let's see. And now we have audit of claims. So I'm going to make a motion that the town board of the town of Monroe requests approval of the abstract number 26-01, general fund containing checks number 37647 through 37829, totaling $771,002.75.
Second.
Call the question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Escrow abstract. So I'm going to make motion that the town of Monroe requests the approval of abstract number 26-1 escrow fund containing check number 2269 totaling $5,757.10. Call the question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Now we have the cash transfer abstract. Motion that the town board of the town of Monroe approves cash transfer abstract 2601 in the amount of $1 million, $1,065,000 to move cash back to funds from near class investments to cover expenditures. Sorry, I've just never seen so much money before, I guess.
Bingham will second.
Richardson calls the question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Let's see. So we have new business, and we are appointing a climate smart community coordinator. I'm very happy to make the motion that the town board of the town of Monroe appoints Heather Siani as the climate smart community coordinator. Can I get a second?
Rivera, second.
Oh,
I was going to fight you for that one again, Louis.
You want to fight me for that one?
so Louis seconds. Call the question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Congratulations, Heather. I first met Heather actually at the Cornwall cleanup crew, and I knew she was the perfect person to head up climate initiatives in Monroe from the second I saw her. She was collecting basically anything that you can think of and finding a way of methodically recycling and categorizing it. So I'm very happy that she will be on our team making a lot of progress in our paperwork. So congratulations, Heather.
Can I please get the spelling for her last name?
Siani.
Thank you.
We have the appointment of court prosecutor. Mary, you are the court liaison. Do you want to take this one?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint John Bach as the new court prosecutor to start with the February court sessions of this year.
Second. Can I do that? Can I second and call the? I should let other people play. I'll call the question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
So moved. Darius, do we need a follow-up motion to have the supervisor sign the retainer agreement with Bach or at the rate of that he listed? Okay.
Yes, because it's an expense.
Yeah, can you just make a motion?
I'll make a motion that authorizes the supervisor to sign the retainer agreement with John Bach at $500 per session for the court prosecutor position.
Stevens will second.
Call the question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Okay. For 9.3, we have the approval of settlement to tax litigation entitled ACP Monroe Associates, LLC versus the assessor et al. So our tax attorney, Alex Shaw, has suggested that we approve the settlement of litigation entitled ACP Monroe Associates LLC versus the assessor et al. Under the Orange County Supreme Court Index number listed here too, and pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in the settlement documents attached in the board packet. So I'll make a motion that we accept the settlement listed before us.
Stevens will second.
Call the question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
So moved. So we also have the approval of Catherine O'Boyle's salary adjustment, so I'm happy to make the motion that Kate O'Boyle, our sole maintenance employee who has taken on the brunt of the labor over the past few months, that I'll make the motion that the town board of the town of Monroe approves a salary adjustment and retroactive pay addition for the period of January 1st, 2026 onward. The adjustment will be from $25 an hour, $25.41 an hour to $28 an hour.
Stevens will second.
Call the question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Okay. So we now have the Town of Monroe employee holiday calendars adjustment. So essentially, it was brought to our attention at the reorganizational meeting that during the summer holidays, we had two holidays fall on the Fridays, where when we're observing our summer hours, the employees did not get the benefit of observing those holidays, and with the way that that is observed, we just had to change that date. We also added Juneteenth to the IEBW, and let's see, added Juneteenth. So I'm going to that Town of Monroe employee holiday calendar outlined in front of us with the adjusted dates. Call the question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Now we have a bond approval. Lot number 3. So make the motion that the town board of the town of Monroe approves a bond in the amount of $22,500 as recommended by the town's consulting engineer in a letter dated December 29, 2025 for the property known as 81 Raywood, lot number 3. This bond amount is to satisfy special condition 4 of the planning board resolution dated July 15, 2025 and is required in accordance with the town's tree preservation law outlined in chapter 57.
Will second.
Call a question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Okay, so for 9.7, we have the approval of contract renewal with Monroe Volunteer Ambulance Corps for 2026. I think you're going to have to make this motion, Mary.
Yes, I'll have to make the motion because it authorizes the supervisor to sign the 2026 contract for the Monroe Volunteer Ambulance Corps, subject to our attorney's approval.
Stevens will second.
Call the question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Darius, had they gotten back in touch with you as of the afternoon? Because I know they were reaching out to their insurance and their attorney.
Still waiting to hear.
Okay. They did have a question that one of the ambulances is directly owned by the town, so they weren't necessarily sure how to get that sorted out with their insurance, but I just said I'd
I'm
let
sure
you
we
know.
have it insured, but I can talk to them.
Yeah.
If they reach out to me, I'll be glad to go over with them. Yeah, we added an indemnity and insurance provision that they have to have, so.
That was left out of the draft that was done by the outgoing attorney, so I'm glad that you caught that. Okay, so for new business 9.8, Gonna do.
Supervisor?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You want me to just, it's okay? You're good?
No, you're good.
Okay. Authorization to approve preliminary appraisal mandated for Harriman Park Estates versus the town of Monroe et al. So basically, you have a letter in your board packet outlining a settlement agreement recommended again by our tax attorney, Alex Shaw. And I'm just going to make the motion that the town board of the town of Monroe authorizes the preliminary appraisal performed by Sal Mazzella for a flat fee of $5,500 in the matter of Harriman Estates versus the town of Monroe et al.
Bingham will
Farrell,
second.
Bingham was first. That's what I heard. Mary's always first. Call the question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Did we make it to public comment?
No, we have to do the reduction. It's from the floor. I'd like to.
Yes, thank you, from the floor. Let's see. Darius, which part of this am I obligated to actually read? Just the whereas?
I wouldn't even go that far. I know there's been I think the history was there was a bond reduction for the Bald Hill development approved, I believe, in October of 2025. The numbers were incorrect. Our consulting engineer for the town has reviewed the work, has reviewed the bond. The initial bond amount under bond number 800161955.
Yes.
Recommended to be reduced by the town's consulting engineer to $441,555.51. Essentially, a lot of work has been done, so the bond will be reduced to that amount. The new motion would be to reduce the bond amount for that bond.
Okay, so I make the motion that the town board of the town of Monroe reduce the bond number 800161955 from the sum of $2,084,276.15 to ultimately the $441,555. Catch that? I don't want to repeat that, George. Silence. He got it.
Stevens will second.
Call a question.
Rivera, aye.
Bingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Do we make it to public comment now? We did? All right. Public comment.
First speaker will be Tony Cardone, followed by Dory Hull. Just a reminder, when you come up to the mic, please state your name, speak clearly into the mic, don't remove the mic, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Good evening, Town Board. I just want to clarify a couple of points regarding the budget. Okay, when the budget was submitted to the county, the budget rate for the taxpayers per $1,000 of assessed value was $12.54.2. I had multiple conversations with the county tax department regarding this because of the anomaly with the negative and the fact that the people in Water District 14 had to pay for the $577,000, I believe it was, cost associated with improving that district over the last 10 years. That's why there was a negative there. When speaking with the county, I was informed, and there were multiple conversations that were had during the month of September. I was informed that the new program that they have does not acknowledge a negative. And I said, I understand that. I'm asking you to do what you do with the A fund. You combined the A and the DA number, and now what you're going to do is you're going to combine the B and the DB number, thus reflecting that the correct increase, and which I was told that increase would be the same, 12.542. So by the time the tax bills came out, there was not time to move forward and get this done. Thus, there's a $2.65 additional charge of $1,000 of assessed value to the taxpayers. Okay, you have essentially two choices. The county's not responsible for the refund. We are, the town is. And unfortunately, it would fall on our town clerk to refund all those taxpayers. The other choice, as per state law, is you can and you should set that money aside in a reserved fund, and that would go against any taxes next year, which I think is the proper thing to do. Anything other than those two, I would question the integrity of the board with respect to the respect of their tax, how they respect their taxpayers. You also need to know that you're over the cap now by doing this and not addressing it in a proper manner. So, in addition, the reason the Teamsters were not included is in collective bargaining, okay, by putting a percentage in there, and I'm sure your attorney will agree, by putting a percentage in there, you then are locked into that percentage when bargaining, and
Time.
you lose any leverage.
Thank you so much.
Dory Hull.
Good evening, Town Board. Dory Hool, Village of Monroe resident. I'm here to speak also on behalf of the 2026 budget. As Mr. Cardone had stated, that $577,000 that was zeroed out represented a loan that Water District 14 was repaying to the town. In not refunding the money, which I understand will be difficult to do, will be time-consuming to do, what we're doing is we're taxing Water District 14 twice. They'll be paying that money back in their water bills, and then on top of that, they will be sharing a burden for this $500,000 that is now being assessed. You are right in saying that this is a formula. Budgeting, specifically for municipalities, is a formula where the revenue must equal the expenditures. In collecting $15 and change per thousand of assessed value, you will be collecting an additional $500,000 from the taxpayers, more than what this budget is calling for as far as expenses go. That's going to be a very hard nut for the residents to tackle. If we take a look at per $1,000 assessed value, a home assessed at $50,000, which would be a modest home in the town of Monroe and probably represents most of the senior citizens in this town, you're looking at an additional $120 per household. That will be difficult for them to pay. So I'm standing here asking that you consider one of those two options, either refunding the additional money that will be collected in the tax revenue or putting that money aside so that it can be used to next year's budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for public comment.
Who would like to respond first?
I think there was one person in the audience.
Oh,
you
yes,
have-
anybody
yes,
who would
sorry.
like to give public comment, it's my fault, I did not remind, we have a full audience tonight. Usually we sign up with the clerk within the first 15 minutes, but because I didn't make that announcement, if anybody who has not been to the meeting would like to sign up now or raise one's hand, please feel free to come down and speak. Yeah.
Come to the microphone first.
Ellen Devlin. I'm from the town of Monroe. And I just wanted to know, I'm sure everyone here knows that they're talking about putting an ICE detention center in Chester. And there was supposed to be, I believe it was a whole county meeting on Saturday, but because of the weather, it was canceled. So I'm wondering, does the town take a stand on something like that? I know our county supervisor was on they've had a meeting, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I'm wondering, do we as a town have a position on that, or will some of us go and they didn't reschedule the meeting yet, but hopefully it will be soon, and hopefully most people I know do not want an ICE detention center close by.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to go down the line? Louis, would you like to respond to comments?
Yes, it's very interesting how the previous board would come before the existing board and talk about a budget that they created and they passed, and now they're giving us suggestions on how to course correct what they, in fact, butchered.
Inflicted.
So they implemented this, and now we are not we're responsible to a degree, but they're the ones who created the budget. So now we're going to have to somehow fix it. That's the only thing I have to say. But it's interesting how they would come and almost make it seem like, you know, hey, we made a mistake. We and now you guys got to fix it. It just seems very, very interesting.
Please don't call out from the audience, sir. Councilwoman Bingham?
I find it interesting that seniors can't afford $123, and I understand some seniors definitely have a hard time paying their taxes, but Water District 14 ended up having to pay $2,400. So those people, I can really understand why they're having a hard time, and I spoke to numerous of the residents in Water District 14 trying to explain why this occurred. I think they understood, as I don't see anybody here tonight. I did speak, as I said, to quite a few of them. Regarding ICE, we did have conversations with residents back when we were looking for some type of police protection for the town. At that time, I expressed I really don't feel that ICE was an appropriate vehicle, especially in conjunction with what, you know, I had heard. And so that's my opinion.
Thank you. And before we move on, could you speak a little bit more about the idea that that negative number was a loan from a water district that they were meant to pay back, and that is the amount that Water District 14 residents are seeing on their taxes? Because in all of my conversations with MHE, that stark raise in Water District 14 has to do with about a dozen plus repairs that were made last summer. And you are our water guru, so I'm going to let you speak on that a little longer.
Okay, so part of the problem with Water District 14 is it's an old system. It was taken over by the town around 2010. And since that time, we've been trying to get grants. I actually found a piece of paper that said we tried to apply for a WIA grant back in 2019, and we've been working diligently trying to get that poor water district a grant. They've had numerous repairs. There is work that has to be done, and part of the problem was we had to include engineering costs, maintenance costs, and the repairs were like $70,000. It was close to, during the summer, the highway department was out in Water District 14 making repairs for several weeks. There were that many repairs that were out there, about 16, 17 repairs, as well as other repairs that were made earlier in the year. Because that water system was leaking so much through their water mains, at one point, we thought
50,000 gallons a day.
Yes. We thought we had to drill a new well for them, and that would have been a very, very expensive task for that water district to maintain and to pay for. There's 60 residential hookups, and there's, I believe, 82 or 84 parcels. Sometimes people own a house and they also bought the lot next door, so it's taxed on the per parcel part. So I feel very badly for the residents in that district, but they did have a lot of repairs, and the one thing that the town board always has to do is to maintain the safety and supply of water to residents. And it was a very big hit this year, and as I said, I feel very bad for them, but we are still diligently looking for any kind of funding from the state or federal government. We still have something out with Congressman Ryan's office, So we're just keeping our fingers crossed that they do get the help they need. It's a big hit for them, I understand that.
Sorry, there's just somebody, Rick, you have comments that you want to make? I'm sorry. He's in the Muna district on behalf of the town, so when water comes up and water issues come up, we're going to let Rick alone have his comments, so what
Well,
can we do for
I'd
you,
like to make,
sir?
I'll be brief on some of the comments, and I promise to be under the 3 minutes. Rick Cologne, Berwyn Road, Monroe, Town Monroe. After listening to both sides about this tax situation, I'd like to say this is I've been on the board and I'm now a private citizen. Most of the citizenry will get confused and lost in the sauce as far as looking over this tax bill. All they're gonna know, most people, and I'm talking the greater majority, not a few, myself included, if you're not right there looking into the budget when it is built, it's confusing. But once a negative number jumps out, that issue should have been straightened out, because first time I saw it, I had no idea what's going on. So in the end, it has increased substantially the taxes. And as you said, Steve Newhouse, as well as the county, had intervened or went to the town to help straighten this issue out. It's something we're just going to have to deal with at this time. It's a bullet. The bullet, we're going to have to bite the bullet, as they say, and do this. And I'm just glad it has the attention of this board to look at it so we can be prepared for next year. But what I am also concerned about is the handoff from one administration to the next. It doesn't matter if you agree with the people from one board to the next, but the previous board has to work as a transitional government to hand off everything, to make sure everything runs smoothly. This is done for the people of the town. And that's basically what we're looking at. A transition that wasn't a transition. And so now we have to deal with that, like it or not. It's just what we have to deal with. So we got to move forward. Thank you for moving forward with this. And I appreciate all the time that you're spending on this. And I'm certain you're going to spend even more time with this. So again, thank you one and all.
Thanks, Rick. And Beth, I'm going to close out the meeting with my comments so you can go right ahead of me.
Yeah, and actually, Rick gave me the perfect transition. Thank you, Rick. I remember attending one of the last board meetings as a resident prior to taking on with this administration, specifically talking about the need for a transition, a good transition. I gave examples of how I've been a part of this in my service with the United States Army. You have an outgoing commander, you have an incoming commander. They have their deputies. They have their executive officers. It's a very similar team and dynamic to what we have with a town supervisor and a town board. And I can tell you, it's not uncommon for the transitioning members of those teams to, maybe not get along. But the deputies, the executive officers, the staff find a way to get it done, even if there's one or two people there that don't want to. And when I brought that up, it was specific to how the budget process was being conducted. With that being said, you're right, Rick. There's going to be a lot of people that, they don't understand the terminology when they hear public comment about combining A with a D fund, B with a D fund. What you need to know is we have received the training to understand that information. And so, even just from that public comment, you can't combine special district funds with appropriated funds. I was very proud and happy, to take time away from my family and spend a week up in Albany getting trained on this. I was also very happy to find out that it's incredibly similar to the work I did in the federal government. I feel incredibly, incredibly comfortable with it. We don't get paid for that, but we're doing it because we want to be good, fiduciary, responsible board members with our town's taxpayer money. So with that, let's just focus on the future. I heard something about giving out refunds, and in fact, there was an entire panel that gave us a session in Albany on how incredibly complicated and wildly hard that is to do. We were talking to them about examples of where you know, like that 92% increase in highway department. You know, what are some smart ways we can use that moving forward? And so what I want to tell you is, there might be some spaces where we do have to reallocate funds. Like I think of how, you know, our outgoing Parks and Rec director said she was going to work half-time, slashed the salary based on, you know, her sharing that, and then lo and behold, 2 weeks later, she's resigning. And this isn't like a back and forth between new administration and old administration. I'm thinking of now we can put someone in place to oversee those Parks and Rec services for the residents of our town, and that's what I want everyone to look at this. Decisions moving forward in the best interest of our residents. It's also our fiduciary responsibility to review the budget multiple times a year. It is not unusual for us to recognize cash flows, you know, excessive funds, decreasing funds, and make adjustments 3-4 times a year. So I don't want anyone to be surprised. You know, when you see us making those adjustments, it's us being responsible. It's something that was not done before that we will be doing moving forward. And yes, if there is something that we can do in terms of where, you know, we notice a great reserve, yeah, we're not just going to go spending the money that is suddenly there now. If there's an opportunity to offset a major repair or a major, you know, mechanical purchase in the future, we're going to have it in our reserve fund. But we're also going to be letting it sit in our investment account, earning some interest for you. I really want to share with you, I'm really going to be incredibly careful in being a good steward of all your tax dollars. To the ICE comment, I want to start by saying that might surprise some of you. You're never going to hear me say, I want to abolish ICE. I'm not one of those people. ICE is important to our national security. It is important to local security. But the way that it is being conducted right now is the problem. And so I hope people can understand the difference. Law enforcement is necessary. But what I'm seeing in our local community is that they're not operating with warrants. They don't have a reasonable cause when they're stopping people. They're breaking civil rights. And so I can recognize, you know, when good law enforcement agents are going out and going after the criminals, of course we need that. So I don't want people to get the idea that law enforcement is bad. But it is okay to recognize when it's, you know, looks like a paramilitarized group. My husband served in the United States Army for 24 years. I can tell you, this is the first time I've seen ICE wearing military uniforms. That is not normal. That is intentional. That is to confuse the public. And no, I don't want to see an ICE facility in Chester. I think it will harm the character of our community. I don't want to start hearing about raids on our local schools like what we're seeing in Minneapolis and Chicago. A dear friend of mine lives in Chicago, and they tried to enter her child's daycare center a couple weeks ago. So no, I don't want that here in my community. I support law enforcement. I believe we already have the law enforcement that we need to go after those criminals. If I'm uneducated on that, I'm always open to discussion, but I vehemently disagree with this ICE facility in Chester.
Thank you. And Darius, you were invoked as our town attorney in being in agreement with statements made. I don't know if we always give the town attorney when invoked the opportunity to rebut. Otherwise we...
No comment at this point.
That's how you know you earned your legal degree there. So yeah, every comment that the outgoing administration just made was word salad. He threw out dates that were incorrect. The conversations that occurred between himself and county finance occurred in December, not September. And it was relayed to me by the county finance that they really had no time and no ability, and they were very adamant asking, this is not possible. There is nothing that can be done. You have to run this back to the town board, call a special meeting, and make amendments to do anything else. They basically, due to miscommunications and everything, again, they had the authorization to zero out the negative number, which was put there to be a vehicle to achieve that negative tax rate, which was not possible from an accounting standpoint. Anyone who's been the budget officer for a year, let alone 8, should have known that. Me and Mary Bingham knew that. The county knew that. And honestly, just
Excuse me, sir. Sir,
attention-
excuse me. If you could go out through the front doors,
Just
please. Thank you.
Thank you. The attention to detail and the effort was just not there on behalf of the public, and the county finance spent about 20 minutes explaining this whole situation, relayed their frustration, relayed how many calls they had received and how many calls they had put into the town of Monroe, asking them to just get in compliance, and ultimately the outgoing administration signed off on zeroing this out, and now want to come down and say that it's the new administration's responsibility and that we're obligated by state law, and none of it's true. We've done our due diligence, and we never would have, we did not sign off on this tax increase, plain and simple. If you don't understand a single word I've said tonight about the budget, me and Councilwoman Bingham voted no on this trash heap that we are now all being subject to. Each one of us pays our taxes, and we asked that more attention and care be given to the budget from September, October onward. We weren't even given year-to-date totals to do our due diligence as checks and balance makers on the town board. And we did everything that we could from a minority perspective, from an outsider's perspective, to ensure that residents knew to come down here and voice their disapproval on the budget, and many of you did, and we thank you for that. And this was something that none of us expected. As you all know, we were expecting a big cut to services, to revenues, to everything, and then to see this large increase. And again, having to deal with this on a Saturday night with the county, with Steve Newhouse, and just getting that support right away and receiving this information. It was one thing, us being in the minority and sitting on this dais and hearing the misinformation that we were given meeting after meeting, and as outsiders, we had very little rebuttal and information and access to come back with the facts. And now sitting in this seat, I have his inbox in my inbox. So it is very, very enlightening. What things we were kept out of and what maneuvers were done intentionally or out of error that are just being covered up. And we just want to move forward as a new board, and we apologize for the mistakes and for the unexpected changes to your bills. In one way, it's a blessing that town services can be restored in this manner. In another, we do have to deal with the fact that, residents are being unfairly taxed, and the facts are the facts. The old administration made this budget. And the only bright side of it is that I have a couple department heads and interested parties in the audience who feel a little bit of relief knowing that we will have the incoming tax dollars to make those salaries that were cut or not even budgeted for, including insurance costs and other essential contract needs that we were already complaining to the state comptroller about as a new administration. That you could not do this and make ends meet with the town, that those things can now be restored and handled. The amount of backlog and unhandled issues that this new administration have gotten through in the last few weeks is incredible, and I just want to say thank you to everybody sitting here, and thank you to all of our department heads who have just been so wonderful to us. Roberta McBride has been fabulous. Ed Morales has been fantastic. Kate O'Boyle has just taken on so much work. Valerie for doing our agenda for our first meeting. Just everyone in the town is just such a lovely presence to be around, and we are just looking forward to getting through these next couple of weeks of work and then starting on our own path as a board. So during this transition, we're just thanking everyone for their patience. And again, this is just one of those bumps in the road during a transition. So with that, I'll make a motion to close the meeting at 7:59 p.m.
Rivera, second.
Call question.
Rivera, aye.
Hingham, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Stevens, aye.